Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session on Swiping for Success, part of our Industry Insight series, Perspectives by Brandscapes. Uh, the battle for innovation is taking place at a global level, and two of the world's leading CPG behemoths, Unilever and Mondelez International, will be sharing their secrets on how they use IdeaSwipe to screen potential winning innovations early in the development cycle. So I'm delighted to introduce the facilitator of this discussion, Nikhil Rawal. He's been in marketing for over 35 years and most recently with Antar across various functions like strategy consulting and research before starting his own company, Pixel Lens. We're eager to hear what he has planned. So let's get started. Over to you, Nikhil.
Thank you, Anand. Thank you very much. And a very good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are logging in from. What does a dating app have in common with a market research tool called IdeaSwipe, right? For starters, I missed the bus on both of them because of age, both for the dating app as well as IdeaSwipe, because I'm out of active market research and therefore missed actually experiencing working on this tool. Jokes aside, but to hear sort of the similarity between this dating app and IdeaSwipe, the innovation tool or the idea screening tool that we have today. We have three eminent speakers with us, and I'll introduce you to each one of them one by one. We have Parvati Mahadev, consulting partner and practice lead from Brandscapes Worldwide, with over 35 years of experience in diverse companies and diverse practices, Kantar, TNS, Feedback, Chlorophyll, and across marketing consultancy, MR research, equity research, and also sort of working with companies like Indian Express, and therefore a bit of that side of the business too. On the other hand, I have Ashwini Agarwal, who's responsible for running over 20,000 ideas through IdeaSwipe. He has really swiped 20,000 ideas through this app itself. He is the Senior Global Consumer Insights Director with Unilever, has over 2 decades of experience across 3 countries, where he has worked in various different roles, global role, regional role, local role, and in markets like sort of Asia and the nearby regions. His current role, he leads a team that is tasked with providing a capacity to unlock to CMI teams across the globe, one of which includes developing and managing and running in-house tools like the IdeaSwipe that we have today, to deliver significant time and cost savings to his internal stakeholder teams. The third speaker that we have today is Shayantan Sarkar, Insights and Analytics Head of the MENA region of Mondelez. Shayantan has over 2 decades of experience, again, across various markets, Asia, Middle East, and the African markets. And he has experience across various insight domains, right from communications to innovations, analytics, and shopper research. But first, let's address the first, should I say, discussion point to Ashwini. Ashwini, I mean, Unilever has been testing ideas and new ideas since time immemorial, ever since I was an RE some 40 years back or whatever. So what was it that now made you guys think that, hey, we need a new tool, a new thing to look at to test new ideas?
Right. Thanks, Nikhil. I must say it's a pleasure being on this panel, and good morning and good afternoon to whichever part of the world that you're listening in. So I think that's a pertinent question, and my initial response to it would be to say that we are always on the lookout of doing things in a different manner, never satisfied with what we have. But I would say, if I had to give let's say, more thought of answer to that. You know, if you speak to a lot of experts in the space of consumer research or insights or market research, everyone talks about, you know, three things or a menu of three. There is quality, there is time, and there is speed. And the joke goes that you can pick any two, but not all the three. Yeah. So we've been working with a lot of tech companies, very distant from the field of insights. And one such collaborator that we identified was someone who we then collaborated to come up with IdeaSwipe. But what IdeaSwipe has allowed us to do, and I must say that it's not that we've stopped doing work with the other tools and techniques that we have from our agency partners. We still continue, to work with them. In fact, the usage of them hasn't really gone down at all. The usage of IdeaSwipe in the last 4 or 5 years has grown considerably, which basically indicates that it's a need that it has tapped into, and it has done a fairly good job as far as delivering to the needs is concerned. So what IdeaSwipe has been able to do for us is to pretty much allow us to go for all the three, which is good quality insights because it's system one, unbiased responses. It is fairly time effective, so turnaround times is very quick depending on the number of ideas that you're looking at. And last but not the least, it is fairly cost effective, which means that in an environment where every penny is something that you can ask, hey, is it being used in the best possible way or not? It allows us to do more with less. And I must say, therefore, I think we were able to find out a very potent use of this as far as upstream screening is concerned. So those are, I would say, some of the key factors or key triggers that got us into this. Yeah, I guess, as they say, nothing succeeds like success, and the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And it's been a good going in the last 4 or 5 years that we've had on this journey on IdeaSwipe.
Thanks, Ashwini. Coming to you, Sharantan. Again, same the thing with that. Mondelez checking innovation and new ideas is nothing new, but and I'm sure you've been using some methodology or the other. But what was it about IdeaSwipe that sort of caught your attention? What was that little thing which made you look at it so sort of closely and evaluate it and pick it up?
No, thank you, Nikhil, and thank you, Brandscape team, for organizing this. Hello, everyone. Good question, Nikhil. I think, see again, the way the digital environment is picking up and evolving, we are at a stage where we are actually evaluating different solutions for different parts of the entire innovation puzzle, right? And again, so IdeaSwipe from that perspective, in that initial idea screening phase, fits in very well. I believe there are 3 factors broadly, if I have to really cluster them, right? There are 3 factors which really ticks the box for IdeaSwipe at that stage. The first factor, I think Ashwini also mentioned about, is speed. Now, testing ideas is not new concept, right? We have been doing that and for eternity. What has really changed is the speed to market. Now, there is a tremendous increase post-COVID and post the e-com boom that has happened, where you see the smaller players in market who have now a level playing field to be in the shelf in front of the shoppers at a much faster rate because of the e-com acceleration. Now, that is a concern in terms of how do we, which are more the scale companies, really drive that agility, drive that speed to market. Also, if you think of the entire supply disruption, I think we are expecting that being fast to market will become much more critical going forward in future, and to drive the innovation success. So from that perspective, yes, on the first box, the digital solution like IdeaSwipe does fit in that delivery of speed. The second factor, which I think is a more critical one, is being fit to purpose. See, all innovations need to still deliver on relevance and uniqueness, right? Those are the 2 metrics which at a very initial stage holds on. However, what is important in today's world is the platform in which you're capturing that. Is it native enough for today's digital consumers, right? And like Ashwini also mentioned about the system one mode, we are looking for tools in system which triggers a system one mode, because at the end of the day, decisions are made in that split second in front of the aisle. So how do you really leverage digital to trigger that system one choice behavior? And that to us is extremely critical for selecting an idea screening tool. It needs to be gamified to stimulate that engagement aspect of it. And it needs to be intuitive and simple in terms of the behavior as well. And I feel the concept behind IdeaSwipe is where we kind of got into this entire thing on IdeaSwipe as a tool for idea screening is it fits the purpose. It fits the purpose of really contextualizing the ideas in this new digital world, right? So that's probably the second tick box on this. The third one is a bit around mindset change, right? We all know that 7 out of 10 new launches do fail or do not last more than 2 years. The question for us is, how do we trigger a mindset change for test and learn? How do we leverage the efficiencies of the digital solution that we have today to create that continuous loop of learning, right? It's important that we fail fast and we learn fast. So you need a solution that drives on leverage on the cost efficiencies and can give you that scale, so that you're not ignoring the smaller ideas as well, and you're not killing the smaller ideas at the roots. So Nikhil, in a nutshell, I think IdeaSwipe from that perspective is a good solution fit from an idea screening tool. It takes on all the 3 factors that we are looking for, and it helps us build a digital capability to really drive innovation excellence, drive the scale, but still be agile in our approach. There are different tools that we use at different stages of the innovation funnel. One of the key criteria, like I was looking at or I was talking about, is to drive that mindset change, and that is a big element of how we are doing it. Now, given that we are in this journey of innovation excellence, how do we really drive the test and learn mindset? Now, IdeaSwipe blends very well with the process that we are setting up. So we are in a process where we get together as a cross-functional team. And what we want to do is we want to get together much more frequently and much earlier or ahead in the innovation journey. And that fits to the purpose of the IdeaSwipe very well. Because the moment that you know it's a cost-efficient tool, it has you're creating that entire loop of idea testing, people also, the stakeholders also become much more bold and disruptive in terms of giving that idea. Right?
Okay. Thanks, Shantan. Ashwini, coming back to you, I mean, it's what now almost 4 years since you've been running IdeaSwipe, and over 20,000 ideas which have been swiped through this. How has IdeaSwipe changed and impacted the process of innovation at Unilever itself? I mean, has it democratized the process, or what would you say?
Yeah, actually, I think just touching upon a few things that Shantan also pointed out. So pretty similar. I think the obvious one is definitely got to do with the fact that we are now in a position to do more with less, which is, like I said earlier, I think it's a great asset or a great situation to be in. But I actually want to just touch upon and maybe not repeat quite a few things, but I think still touch upon one thing that I think Shantan pointed out, which is that I think it's not that, I mean, a place like Unilever obviously pays a lot of emphasis as far as consumer centricity is concerned. And I would say that there is a lot of walking the talk that happens when it comes to consumers, be it the use of consumer tools, be it the rigor that we employ in the innovation process and so on. I think what IdeaSwipe in many ways has done is that it has attempted to bring about a sea change as far as the culture which is linked to innovation. And what do I mean by that? So earlier, for instance, when we had an innovation process, that project that kicked off, you had people who, for instance, would have certain ideas. But given that we had limited resources, obviously we would never be in a position to test 50, 100 ideas. We had limited resources, and it was always a bit of a struggle for the team to think about, hey, okay, which ideas or which of the ideas can we really put into test? Yeah. And then, of course, when you have largest teams, everyone has their own point of view. And sometimes when you really don't have a very clear way of going about things, then things can get a little subjective. But I think what IdeaSwipe has done is that it has allowed us to suspend all sort of judgment in the beginning. It has actually encouraged people to flex their muscle. So regardless of whether, for instance, you are in any of the cross-functional teams that pretty much are part of innovation teams, we now have cases where we pretty much look at, in many cases, test 100, 150, 200 ideas because, and I think as Shanthan also mentioned, bold ideas, right? Ideas which would, on the face of it, be quite wacky or disruptive. But it has allowed people or give people that freedom to say, hey, not only can I put an idea into test, but there is no bar as far as the number is concerned. And what that does, if you think about it, is that it gives a confidence to people. Yeah. So you're no longer sort of trying to sort of, sort it out within the team saying, hey, I want to do 2, I want to do 4, etc. But you are now looking at a fairly open play field as far as that is concerned. So I think it has really empowered people's thinking from that perspective. And therefore, if I say that IdeaSwipe has been instrumental in strengthening the culture linked to the innovation is concerned, then I think it's a fair way of looking at it. Yeah.
Thank you, Parvati, Ashwini, and Shanthan. That was really a very brief overview of IdeaSwipe and what it can do for you and your brands and your new ideas that you are thinking of. We will throw the floor open for questions. I already have the first question. Let me sort of read out, and any one of you of the three can answer this question. The question is, how best to analyze if 3 ideas out of a total of 50 ideas come at the top with marginal statistical difference? The usual problem in any concept test, product test, or whatever. Yes, all 3 of them very close. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I can probably take a crack at this. So I think it is possible that it happens that way. But I think one of the charts that Parvati did, call out was that we look at ideas on a bit like a sort of a 2x2 kind of a matrix. On the one axis, we've got bet for, the other axis, we've got how different, which is a surrogate for uniqueness. So typically, we are looking at ideas actually performing, on both those parameters. If indeed, so while in many, actually, if you ask me, we do find a lot of variation on the uniqueness or the different side of things, not as much as far as bet for is concerned, because usually we do understand and know how to create compelling and persuasive ideas. It's the uniqueness which varies. But if indeed there is a case wherein even on a 2x2 kind of a plot, all the 3 ideas are sitting on top of each other, I think we have to recall the fact that this is early stage screening. So you need not be in a situation where you have to sort of just pick, one out of the 3. Maybe you can just take all the 3 into consideration and progress with them. We've got open ends as well, which can help us understand richer nuances. But at least in our case, whenever we find, let's say 3 ideas which are very close to each other on both the parameters, we still progress with them, and there are plenty of downstream methodologies and tools that we use to further sort of differentiate between the 3.
Can I test ideas without an image? That's one of the questions.
Ashwini, you want to answer or should I? I mean, we have cases.
I think for the sake of variety, maybe you want to go first.
No, go ahead, because I know we can. We can. IdeaSwipe is very agile. It keeps evolving. While we believe that you should have a large image and that's the way to test it, we also understand that if you can give a crisp descriptor with a title, we can test that also. The responses obviously change. Different neurons fire up in your brain when you see an image and when you read text also versus only text. In fact, we've also tested ideas where the image itself has a text embedded in it. So it's always evolving. It's not fixed to one format, though the format that we showed you earlier was the format that is typically used. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's right, Parvati. So I think this is a bit of a tricky one as well, because yes, I think the idea is if a strong idea and it has legs on its own, I think the idea should run. There is also a school of thought which would indicate that, hey, if the idea were accompanied by a very appealing sort of a visual, because that sort of provides a richer perspective to things, that also helps. In our understanding, I think jury is out on that one, for the simple reason that we've tried to analyze ideas that we've tested in the past, and while we've understood that in certain markets there seems to be a case like that, but in a lot of other markets there is nothing to indicate that ideas with a visual or accompanied by a visual do better. Yeah. But I think just going back to the spirit of IdeaSwipe, it's a fairly agile tool. So yeah, there is nothing which would stop us from testing ideas which don't have a visual.